Okay, why do you think that divorce is not proper? And if somebody should divorce already, he doesn't have to get married anymore.
Well, imagine that when if God decides to divorce you, think about that.
Okay. Now you have to think about that. If God has to divorce you, so what does that imply to you as a human being? So that means everybody, no matter what your spouse does, you have to stay put. But for me, I'm not satisfied about that. Can we hear from some other person?
No comment. Okay. Uh,
Hey, your power came off.
Okay.
mm, Divorce.
Go ahead.
I wait.
Okay, we get back to you later. So, for me, I think that getting a divorce has to be when you have a divorce, then you are free as a man to go back and maybe get married again or settle yourself. But when we're looking at the legal point, then we have to ask more questions about why we didn't have to do that. Let's hear from my brother again. What can you tell us?
What was the question?
In a legal point, can you tell us why you're thinking about it should not go back to get married again?
All right. Jesus himself said it. Okay, that if a married person who divorced someone remarries, it's like committing adultery again. See, technically speaking, in God's eyes, if you marry someone, that is for life. Okay, whether you divorce them or not, it is still for life. And and the principle here is that you stick to that one person or live by yourself if you get a divorce. So if you marry someone else, then you are already committing adultery. Because you got to remember, when you were married, you made a vow before God, okay? And it stipulates in the law, Levitical law, that you have to fulfill all those vows you made to God, including marital law. And after all, the word does say, for better or for worse.
Okay, okay. Now, the word comes in again, the most important word that everybody sees in the heart of. When you're about to get a woman to call your home, it's always for better and for worse. But sometimes the worst part is the part that we cannot handle. And if I really have to remember some marriages, is really when you want to talk about that, it's like getting into hell. But at the same time, it always takes patience and it always takes perseverance to be able to adjust to every circumstances in marriages. But I am still asking one question, and the question is, what if your spouse is unfaithful sexually and you ain't got no choice, you just gotta get out of the marriage. But at the same time, you're human and the feelings is still there and you need some other person. What do you do?
Well, first things first, okay? When I talk to you about the law, the Jesus' point of that here is that if you live by the law, then you have to learn how to do everything by the law. But by the grace of God, for what Jesus did on the cross, this is the age of grace. The If you have accepted Christ in your heart as the one who who paid for your sins, then every one of your sins has been forgiven by Him. Right? Your weaknesses, whether you're going to remarry on these things, has already been forgiven by the Lord. Consequently, you cannot lose your salvation because you've accepted Christ. Okay, now I'm talking for those who are truly and only those who are truly born again. The Can Christians fall prey into divorce and in weakness fall in love again? Yes, and the Lord knows about that. That is why we are living in the age of grace. Every favor that we have is undeserved,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I thank the Lord for this time. Because if we try to live according by the law, well, we'll all end up being in hell anyway. Fortunately, we live in the age of grace, but that's only open for those people who are born again.
Okay. So, um, so what you're trying to make us understand is that even though we did that, it's always a place of mercy. That we could still go back to God and tell God, I apologize, and we're all humans, and we could always fall back to you when we make mistakes. But at the same time, what do you think? Do you have any idea of what you could tell us about that?
Divorce. If, yeah, if you engage in a divorce and you remarry again, sooner or later, if your relationship got sour or something bad come up, I'm very sure that will be your quickest escape again without dealing the problem, and it will be uh, it's like a circle, unending, marrying, divorce, marrying, divorce, until it will come to a point that you don't know how to to have a relationship, a proper relationship with yourself, because every time there's a problem, you just ran away with it. Divorce, you make a divorce.
Okay. Now, I could understand one thing, but I still have one.
How much memory is this recording?
Mhm. I still have one question. For example, if somebody was a non-believer and he had a divorce, so when he finally gave his life to Christ, is it possible that the person could remarry it again? What do you think? Is it possible? A non-believer had a divorce, somebody that doesn't know God before, then suddenly when he gets to know Jesus, can he remarry again?
Understand what grace is again. Under grace, you cannot do wrong in the Lord's eyes because He's already forgiven you of all the sins that you yourself have not even um, done yet. Christ has seen that already. Again, I'm only talking to those who are truly born again. So under that situation, the Lord's not going to condemn you. However, there are the if you sin against the Lord, though the sin would not condemn you to hell, there are circumstances that you will have to learn to live with. And like in most marriages, and since both of you are not really married, so you guys really have no idea what you guys talking about, what marriage life is about. There are certain consequences that you're not aware of. For one thing, when God said that a man and a woman who comes together are made by one, he was not just saying that as something as symbolic. There is there there is a certain tie, a physiological tie, a psychological tie that comes between husband and wife. That when that is torn aside because both people or one person is self-centered and say that they just don't want to live with them anymore, and that is always usually the case, then they there are consequences to that. For one thing, for all those people who remarried, I have never met a happy one yet, even though they say they're happy, but not yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's that's the truth. The thing is that we cannot look over worlds and think that there's always a better place on the harder side. One thing that matters in life is that we have to stay focused at any time. Whatever God has blessed you with, whether your wife, whether it's your kid, whatever you have, learn to appreciate that and know that every time you have to conquer nation and world, it takes patience. And when God's covenant is still right with you, no matter the trouble you're facing, no matter what it's standing before you, you can always stand ahead of that. Do you have any word you want to tell us before we round up?
Mm, also, what I can say is, if any one of you had problem with relationship, try to solve it first before making a rash decision like making a divorce or an annulment, because it's just a quickest way to escape the problem.
Okay. This is Michael, James, and right beside me I have
Johan, kiss him, babe.
Einer. Einer.
Okay. See you some other time. Stay focused and don't forget the hero lies